What's up everyone, it's Chris with the Little Treasury channel. Welcome back. This is where we bring you awesome watch content at least once a week. And if you haven't already, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be alerted as soon as we upload. I'm from Little Treasury Jewelers, which is located in Gambrills, Maryland. And it's where you go when you're in the know. As always, the watches that I review are for sale and can be purchased, so please see the description below to contact us. In our last video, we tried something new and put a G-Shock MRG on our channel, which I really recommend checking out just to see what the highest end G-Shock pieces are all about. And I know that many of you are Japanese watch enthusiasts, so a lot of that culture is put into these pieces as well. In today's video, we're going to help you answer a difficult question that I find many of my customers are always trying to figure out. The three most popular Grand Seiko pieces that have many similarities seem to always be competing in minds for which one to buy. Today, we will help you decide which one is the best way for you to go between the SBGA211 Snowflake, SBGA415 Winter, and SBGA413 Spring. Now, let's go ahead and do a wrist check. Today, I'm wearing my SBGA211 Snowflake, which is actually the one starring in the video, so pardon any minor dings or scratches on it because I wear the heck out of this watch. I may have a Snowflake myself, but I do love all three pieces for different reasons, and I would get them all if I could financially afford to. Now, please go ahead and tell me about the piece that you're wearing today while you're watching the video. Now, let's get on to the video. You have absolutely heard about these pieces, the most sought after Grand Seiko models besides the white birch. The Snowflake SBGA211, which has been around since 2010 and survived the rebranding from Seiko as the logo to Grand Seiko. It's the most iconic piece that Grand Seiko offers. It is most likely responsible for the company's extreme success that people are realizing over the past few years due to the story of its style, along with the beauty and extreme lightweight titanium construction, and the spring drive movement with the open caseback all in one package. Grand Seiko knew that this is a winning formula, and in 2019 took the DNA of the Snowflake and created two beauties in the Seasons collection, which share all of the fundamental characteristics, however with a different case and different dial. The SBGA415 Winter and SBGA413 Spring. Before we move on, please take the time to smash that subscribe button, which is below where I'm pointing. It really helps the channel and allows me to stay motivated to do these increasingly sophisticated productions for you that take over 10 hours every single week. Now let's get on to the features. My measurements for the SBGA211 Snowflake are a 40.7 millimeter case width, 12.4 millimeter thickness, 48.4 millimeter lug to lug, 19.8 millimeter lug width, and a weight of 92.84 grams with 2 full links and 2 half links removed. While the SBGA413 Spring and SBGA415 Winter share the same measurements of a 40 millimeter case width, 12.7 millimeter thickness, 45.9 millimeter lug to lug, 20.7 millimeter lug width, and weighing in at 99.65 grams with all links. The case of the Snowflake has matte finish on the lugs with Zaratsu polish on the sides. The bezel is Zaratsu polished and it flows into the sides, which are also Zaratsu polished, and the crystal sits flush with the bezel. A screw-down crown can be found at the 3 o'clock position. This case was made specifically for the Snowflake model with nothing historical in mind here. The case for the Spring and Winter is a modern reinterpretation of the 62GS case, which was the first automatic watch that Grand Seiko created in 1967. They have swooping portions on each side of the case with matte finish on the top and Zaratsu on the sides. A big plus of this case is that the crystal is box-shaped and it sits above the case, so it'll actually protect the case from scratches. Also, no bezel is really present here to be scratched up. A screw-down crown can be found at the 3 o'clock position as well. The dials are all textured and beautiful in their own way. The Snowflake has the Snowflake pattern, which was created from a stamped dial that was found in the studio archive from a watch model from 1971. The pattern was then turned into a larger die and cast into a brass plate with the force of 200 metric tons, which is then rhodium plated to give it that perfect white, true finish and also maintain the beautiful texture. The snow pattern represents the snow on the slopes outside of the Shinshu Watch Studio, where the spring drive was born. The dials on the spring and winter both originated in the Lion 20th Anniversary Limited Edition piece, which represented the mane of the lion, which is the symbol of Grand Seiko. On the spring, you have a shiny silvery toned dial with a slight pink hue that represents the time when the sakura blossoms fall into the water, swirl and float and dance. This is meant to capture the spirit of the sakura season, while the winter has what I would call a gray dial with a golden hue that represents the pine trees crusted with snow in silence under the winter sun and represents the snow glittering against the sunlight. The Grand Seiko logo is silver-toned on the Snowflake and gold-toned on the spring and winter. All markers are beautifully hand-finished to perfection, and the marker at the 12 o'clock, 9, and 6 are broad, solid trapezoidal shapes on the Snowflake, while the marker on the spring and winter at the 12 is the only different one, with dual sticks at the 12 and stick markers for the rest of the hours, but slimmer ones than on the Snowflake. The hands on all three watches are the same, except the Snowflake and Winter share a beautiful blued second hand, and the Spring has a silver second hand. The date window is the exact same on all three models, with black numerals, a white background, and a frame of high polish. The power reserve is the same on all three models, just colored to match the particular dial. Spring drive is written on the bottom middle of the dial in black on the Spring and Winter, and in blue on the Snowflake. The minute grade on the Snowflake is in black and is placed around the edge of the dial, while the minute grade of the Winter and Spring is placed on the chapter ring, which is something that the Snowflake doesn't have, but is also in black. The case back is open on all three models, but the lion logo is found on the back of the Winter and Spring in gold. And the movement is completely unimpeded on the Snowflake, but if you look very closely, you will see a ghost lion logo. All three have the same 9R65 spring drive movement, which is Grand Seiko's most iconic movement that uses a mechanical drivetrain with a quartz-controlled tri-synchro regulator that uses an electromagnetic braking system. This means the second hand glides smoothly with no ticks, and gives these pieces a 15-second per month accuracy and a 72-hour power reserve. The bracelets are the exact same, but have different end lengths, and are a 5-link style design with matte on the larger areas and Zaratsu polish on the smaller pieces, with a folding clasp and no micro adjust. All three pieces are 100-meter water resistant. None are limited editions, but the Winter and the Spring are US only special editions, and they can be yours for a wonderful $6,300, while the Snowflake comes in at $5,800. Now for my humble opinion. These are all wonderful pieces, will fit perfectly on pretty much any wrist size, and it really boils down to your personality and what you already have in your collection. If you are looking for a true white dial, which a good one is really hard to find, I would say, then the Snowflake is amongst the best options on the market. It is the most legible of the three, with the broad markers that shine more than the others and stark contrast to the dial color, and is the most iconic Grand Seiko piece. The downside to the Snowflake is that it does have a Zaratsu polished bezel, and it is something that you will want to guard with your life to not scratch. The Winter will be for someone who wants a more muted and mature look, and if you want the blued second hand between this and the Spring, this could be a determining factor for you. This one will be number 2 in legibility, which is still good, but the markers will be less of a contrast than the Snowflake to the dial color. A big perk for this one though is that the crystal pops up from the case and guards it from easy to see scratches on the crucial top portion, and that applies also to the Spring. The Spring is still on a perpetual month-long wait list, years after release, and that is because the dial is just so unusual and looks special with the slight pink hue to it. It is fun and playful and feels young and special. It is the worst of the three though as far as legibility goes, and I have had this piece returned before because it was just difficult to read for the customer. And also the second hand is not blue, which some people may not like. So to summarize, if you want legibility, go with the Snowflake. If you want the most fascinating dial, go with the Spring. And if you want something in between that is more subtle, the Winter is totally for you. The winner for me, though, is the Snowflake because it is the most iconic, and I appreciate the true white dial and maximum shine on the indices. Now tell me in the comments below which one is the winner for you and why. Thanks for watching today, everyone. I really hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please make sure to smash that subscribe button, give this video a like, and of course, share this with your friends. We look forward to seeing you next video.